Today, we're going to talk about the most common reasons that recruits fail out of boot camp or recruit training and how you can ensure this doesn't happen to you. The very first place where you will see a lot of recruits fail, and I mean something like 5 to 15% of people just wash out, is that very first week. Now, I did a video recently talking about receiving and talking about that first week and like the admin paperwork and everything they do. But part of that is drug tests, scaring you straight on things you might have lied about while applying, redoing medical exams, and all of the other things that could be disqualifying factors. And I'll tell you, there's a fairly significant amount of people who do what we call a boot camp pop and they fail the drug test. And then that's it. If you fail the drug test at boot camp, you're gone. Like, you don't pass go, you don't collect $200, you're off to jail. Not actually jail, but like, you're done with the military. That's it. Sorry. No bueno. So do not have drugs in your system when you go to boot camp. The other thing is if you disclose something that you had not told your recruiter or MEPS and did not have a waiver. And that could mean as simple as like you told them you smoked marijuana 7 times, and then you get to boot camp, you're like, actually it was 700. Well, that's a whole different waiver level, and they may or may not let you through, but there's a good chance you're gonna get sent back home and told, figure it out, come back some other time. As well, if you had like legal trouble that you lied about and somehow never popped on, but now you bring it up, or medical issues you never talked about and they never found, but somehow you bring it up now, or drug use that, again, that you didn't talk about. Like maybe you're like, oh shit, I did heroin. My bad. I forgot. You know, like any of that stuff that you bring up and just self-incriminate on that you hadn't told anyone in the previous, screening process through your recruiter, MEPS, DEP program, whatever, can get you sent home. There's another piece here where it could be a medical issue that you didn't know about. I actually had a young lady I enlisted who got to boot camp, and in the stricter medical screening they do there, it was discovered that she had scoliosis, and they ended up sending her home because it was beyond the scope of what was allowed. Now, I don't know that this was something we knew, like she didn't know about it. And this was something that like came up, I don't even think it was the first week. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks down when she was like, all this stuff is hurting. Oh my gosh, she went to medical and they did a deeper check. And so that was kind of the problem, but there's just nothing you can do about that. That said, they do a little bit more intense medical screening at boot camp. They redo your audio, they redo your vision, they do a bunch of other stuff. And I have had applicants who, not for me, but for other recruiters in my office, who went to boot camp and found out about some strange, medical issue that they never knew they had. And that's not their fault, but unfortunately it can disqualify them. But again, that's very, very, very rare that they find something. It's usually you bringing up a legal thing, a drug thing, or a medical thing that you didn't tell anyone else and is actually a disqualifier, and you should have either been honest about it or, since you hadn't been honest about it, kept it with you to your freaking grave. Not telling you to lie, just telling you don't self-incriminate at boot camp. Now, once you make it through that first week and receiving and you get in with your drill instructors, the biggest ways that you can get yourself disqualified, and really the biggest thing, is just refusing to train. They call it like failure to adapt, but just quitting. Like if you don't quit, you're basically going to make it through boot camp. Now, there are some injuries that could come up, but basically if you don't quit, you're going to make it. That's the bottom line here. If you want out of boot camp and you quit, if you just sit on your hands, refuse to train, refuse to do anything, give up on yourself, give up on your goals, give up on your future, and you want to just be a quitter for the rest of your life, then that's on you. And there's not a whole lot the military can do for that. But barring you just quitting on yourself, you can work through almost anything. In fact, I had an applicant who tore his ACL at recruit training, and they fixed it, and he went through the healing process, and it was like 6 months, 9 months at recruit training in the medical platoon, holding platoon, before he was healthy. And then he went on and finished boot camp, became a Marine. And that happens. Now, different injuries, they might send you home to heal and come back. But depending on the issue, you can absolutely get through it, even with medical issues. Now, what happens, unfortunately, is you get into this medical platoon, and it's like the same platoon that the people who lied about stuff or whatever, they're getting processed, it's out or whatever, go to, and you get into this platoon, you're surrounded by like mopey, negative people, and it just starts to feed on your energy, and you start to feed off them, and it becomes like a self-licking ice cream cone where you just kind of slowly go downtown. It's a dangerous spot, or downhill, it's a dangerous spiral, and there's just not a whole lot that anyone can save, and then you end up in that like, I'm gonna quit mode, which is why, like, if you have a kid who gets injured and sent to that platoon, as recruiters, we were required to call them every single week and talk to them and just check in, like, hey man, how you doing? Like, remotivate them. You're gonna be great. You're gonna crush it. You're going to make it through this. Don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on me. Don't quit on the Marine Corps. Like, this is your goal. This is your dream. This is life. You're going to be great. And they get taken care of, but it just takes time. Back in 2008, when I joined the Marine Corps, Don't Ask, Don't Tell wasn't repealed. And so you could actually get out of boot camp by being gay, which is not the case anymore because we don't care. And I think that's good. But when I went through, there were actually there was a kid, not in my platoon, but in another platoon, two of them got caught, they intentionally got caught, making out in the bathroom, in the shower area when the drill instructors were around, just so they could both be like, we're gay, you have to let us get, oh no, and then they get kicked out of the military. And I mean, again, that's just quitting, but I thought that was kind of funny because I'm old enough that that was an issue, whereas now it's we don't give a stop sucking face in the shower, asshole, come back here, you're finishing. That's not a thing anymore, obviously, and that's good. I think the military's, that's a good move. Also, I don't know that you need to be sucking face at boot camp with one of the other recruits. Gross. They don't hygiene very well. Now, an integrity violation is another issue. So I had this kid named Sepulveda in my recruit training platoon who was pissed off at another kid and shaved all of his pubes and stuffed them in the canteen of the other guy, and he got caught. And he ended up, so they didn't actually kick him out of boot camp, at least not that I know of. They sent him back to training day 1. So we were in the 9th or 10th week of recruit training, and he went all the way back to day 1 and had to start over again. Now, I don't know if he ever actually made it through recruit training. I never heard from or saw him again. But that's the thing. If you are just being an idiot and asshole, they might send you all the way back to the beginning of training. But if it's a true integrity violation, you stole something, or you started a fight, or there's all these things that I don't know the whole list, but let's just say it's a true character issue, integrity violation, where they're you are just not cut out for this, then that can get you sent home as well. And that basically goes into the misconduct, fighting, stealing, fraternization, beating the out of somebody while they're asleep, the blanket party. None of that stuff is viewed as healthy or good, and all of that can get you kicked out of boot camp depending on the severity, or sent all the way back to training day 1 as punishment. And then, of course, the mental issues, the failure to adapt, the mental health, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, stuff like that, depending on the severity. I mean, suicidal ideation, suicidal attempt, that'll get you sent home for sure. But depression, anxiety, failure to adapt, just quitting, all of that, depending on the severity, can be a reason for you to no longer continue training with recruit training. It's relatively uncommon for people to make it out of that first week, where the majority of people who go to boot camp drop, and that's because of, again, drug, legal, medical things that they either lied about or were discovered or failed a drug test. After that, it's actually relatively uncommon for people to not make it through boot camp. I think we only had 2, maybe 3 people out of the 90 in my recruit training platoon who didn't make it all the way through. One of them was the pubes guy. One of them was a kid who had seizures while we were there. And I can't actually tell you if there was a third. I'm thinking there might have been, but I don't know who or what. So very uncommon. And most of that, while relatively uncommon for it to be physical or mental issues, it's almost always boils down to misconduct or just straight up quitting. Because even the medical one, if you stick it out through the medical healing, platoon, you can make it through and you'll be okay, right? So hopefully this video helps you. Now, I've got a couple of videos talking about getting ready for recruit training, prepping that first week and what to look for when you're in that first week and the admin period, whatever they call it for your branch of service. And I've got a ton of videos that'll help you set yourself up for success, both before getting to recruit training and after on the financial side. But hopefully this helps ease your mind a little bit about what might actually go wrong at recruit training. Because the bottom line is, if you weren't lying about stuff, or at least if you keep it with you to the grave if you were, and you don't get ridiculously just hurt in a way that nobody saw coming, then basically if you don't quit, you'll be okay. And again, this is me talking from my experience as somebody who was a recruiter for and went through recruit training for the Marine Corps. The other branches are arguably not as difficult as the Marine Corps when it comes to boot camp. Their trainings are a little bit shorter, and they're not quite as intense physically or mentally in some instances. This isn't me talking, but it's just the truth, right? The Marine Corps prides itself on having the longest and most intense recruit training, and as such, we are going to see things come out at a more grandiose scale from the I want to quit or failure to train than some of these other branches of service. And so just know that this is the worst case scenario. What I just described is what could happen. So if you go in with a level head, clear conscious, and you're ready to train, you did some working out beforehand, as long as you're not on drugs when you get there, you are most likely going to be fine. So if you got something out of this video, subscribe to the channel, join the crew. We help service members and vets achieve financial freedom. So all of this, where we're just helping you get through boot camp, is great. But, click the link in the description below or scan this QR code to download a free copy of my book, The No BS Guide to Military Life, which I wrote to basically share everything that I wish I'd known about the military and finances when I first joined the military. If I'd had that beforehand, I would have left the military with a whole lot better financial situation than I did. And luckily, I found this stuff at some point, so my financial situation was already really good. but I really want to help you guys take it to the next level and ensure that whether you do 4 years or 40, you're set up for success when you leave the military, because we want to help 10,000 vets achieve financial freedom. I'd love to think you're going to be one of those, so scan the QR code, download the book, read it before you go to recruit training, get in shape, get your head on straight, and crush it. You're going to do awesome.